The Wizards lose another game in DC, 123-108 to the Utah Jazz. So we're going to do a quick recap of the Jazz loss, and then we're going to get E's perspective on today's big news, man. The firing of Coach Wes Unseld Jr. and his transition, that is, to the front office. So rock with us tonight because we're going to talk about a lot tonight. Next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with my guy, the real Ed Oliver. And we definitely appreciate you guys showing up tonight, man. It's a very exciting day. Well, I'm not going to say exciting, but it's definitely a big news day. So we're going to definitely recap the Wizards' loss against the Utah Jazz real quick. And then we're going to get into the hot topic, which is Coach Wes Unseld Jr. was fired and transitioned to the front office in an advisory role today. So we're definitely going to get E's perspective on that and get in the comments at the end like we always do. So let's slide into it, E. Washington Wizards drop the 123-108 to the Utah Jazz at home. And I mean, looking at the team stats real quick, different games, same script. Rebounding was an issue. So if you could try, I guess, if you could pinpoint what area might have been lost, or was this just a total team loss in your opinion, E?
A combination of all of it. Unfortunately, this is Brian Keefe's first night, but it did look like the same thing that we've been seeing the past couple of years. Under Wes Unseld Jr., you gotta remember that it's still the same roster, and the roster is just not good enough. It's definitely a bottom 3 roster in the league, or bottom 5 roster in the league for sure. We know what the goal is to get the best draft pick in the draft coming up. But it was some of the same things, like Kelly Olynyk hitting a step back 3. Them letting Larry Markkinen hit 6 threes. Them getting dominated by John Collins, Markkinen, Kessler, Kelly Olynyk. All of their bigs had a field day today, and they dominated. You look at the rebounds; they out-rebounded the Wizards 52-35. Also, points in the paint, they had 72. The Wizards had 66 as well, but 72 points given up in the paint is definitely inexcusable. And the Wizards gave 123 points. As well, the Jazz shot 51% from the field, too. Like Colin Sexton, there were a couple times where he went to the basket twice on Jordan Poole and just strong-armed Jordan Poole, and he did an and one and flexed on him as well. So it wasn't just the bigs getting pushed around. And Bagley tried. Bagley had, 13 points tonight. Gafford actually had – I'm not going to say actually had a good game, but I thought Gafford played hard. Tonight he had one of his better games. He had 13 points, 9 boards, almost had a double-double. I want to say he had a couple blocks out there. He had 4 blocks. So I thought he played hard against Markkinen and Kessler and all of their bigs. But you could just see, like, they have so many big men, like Collins. All those guys can move. They can shoot the 3. They can shoot the mid-range. All those guys are just super talented. They the Jazz, they're more of a playing team, but they still have a lot of talent. Keontae George is a good young guard. Chris Dunn.
Yeah,
the former Capital City go guard as well. He's just a really good defender and a good passer. So they have a really good, really talented team, and they have good chemistry too. They played zone a lot on the Wizards. The Wizards, I thought I'm not gonna say they struggle with it, but it took them a little time to adjust to the zone. Kuz had a couple open looks. He missed them in the middle of the court. And this is one of Kuz's better games, 26 points, where he actually looked focused coming out. They had a good start coming out. We had a lead coming out, but that went away pretty darn quickly. And then Denny showed some flashes here and there. Tyus Jones had 14 assists. So I thought he had a solid game distributing the basketball. And then Bagley had a solid, solid game scoring the ball. Kessler had a solid game taking the basketball to the basket and scoring. And Bilal is kind of going through, I'm not going to say a slump or a rookie wall right now, but 2 points from him tonight. 29 minutes, 0 for 5. So just didn't shoot the ball well. He had a couple good looks. They just didn't fall. So, but like I said, I'm not going to say he's going through a rookie wall, but, rookies go through their ups and downs right now. And he's not shooting the ball well right now. But, even if they're not falling, he's got to keep taking them. He's got to keep taking them. That's the only way he's going to get better and develop is by taking those shots and getting as much playing time as he can get. So 29 minutes is good for him. I'm happy that he got those minutes, but definitely want to see him be aggressive and taking those shots for sure. So, just They just got dominated in the paint, man. Simple as that. Even Sexton getting to the basket,
Yeah.
Clarkson, all those guys. Just simply put, they kind of got dominated in the paint for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, man, different game, same script. I mean, our inability to guard the interior, man, and the perimeter. I mean, looking at their team stats, I'll pull up real quick. I mean, they shot 49 or 41.9% from three, as opposed to our 23%. So we struggled from three. They shot at a high clip. Looking at rebounds, again, out rebounded 57 to 42, including 13 offensive rebounds to their 5. Assists a little closer, but their ball movement, you can definitely, like you said, you definitely see their chemistry is a lot more in tune than ours. Looking at points in the paint, 72 to 66. But what really got us was second chance points as usual, man. Those offensive rebounds extend possessions, and that's what gives us those second chance points have been a stickler for us this year, man. And really, yeah, rebound has been an issue. And then there's some games where we're kind of a little even with rebound, but we are terrible for giving up offensive rebounds and letting other teams extend possessions, and it always kills us, man. Second chance points kills us. So looking at it individually, now I believe we had 6 guys in double figures, so we fought, man. But ultimately, it's just one of those games, like you said, there's a talent gap. I mean, there are guys, man. Kessler, that's a big dude, man. Like that's a corn-fed cat, man. Like that's a big dude, man. Jordan Clarkson was very agile tonight. So looking at them real quick, I mean, 29 points by marketing, man. So marketing was, shooting 6 for 12 from 3. So marketing killed us on the perimeter, man. Olenek, their big men and their 3-point capabilities what got us, man. It wasn't so much their guards, it was the big men that were cooking us on the perimeter. Because, like I said, 6 for 12 from marketing. Sexton, 11 points, but his ability to get in the lane is just, I don't understand that, man. We've got to shut that lane down, man. I mean, between Bagley and Gafford, they got to shut this lane down. So switching over to the Wiz, like I said, we had 6 guys in double figures. Looking at Kuz, good night from Kuz. Definitely a high volume night, but a good night, except for 1 fade from 3, but 12 for 24 overall, so 50% from the field, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. So Kuzma had a decent game. Now 5 turnovers. We want to shore that up, but Kuzma had a really good game. Looking at Denny, 13 points, but 6 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting 5 for 9 for the field. He had that one breakaway dunk. So I like what I see from Denny as far as him attacking the basket, man. You see a lot more aggression with him attacking the basket. That's what you want to see. Next step is working on a more consistent jump shot. But I like the leaps and bounds he has taken offensively. Just want to see a little more consistency. Jordan put 18 points, shooting 6 for 12. He had his moments, but I guess expectation-wise, it's still not a showing we want to see from Jordan Poole. We thought he was going to be a 20-plus, and I still think he could be a 20-plus, so I definitely want to see him short it up, but not a bad game. Again, Tyus, 14 assists. Tyus, man, he continues to show why he's that floor general. His assist numbers is what I expected to see coming into the season. I'm not saying I expected 14, but I definitely wanted to see him definitely boost his assist numbers up this year with him getting a full-time gig as a starting point guard. Looking at Gaff, 13 points, 9 rebounds, 6 for 7, 4 blocks. Active, but man, and I hate to say this, because I am a Gaff fan, man, but he tends to sometimes put up empty stats. Like, on one hand, you look at the stat line, it's like, okay, got you, 9 rebounds, 13 points, 4 blocks. But then again, Colin Sexton and the majority of the Jazz were able to just go into the paint at will, man. And it only took 1 or 2 moves and the layups up. And it's not just Gaff. I think that interior defense is a team-wide issue, not just Gaff. Bagley, when his finest moment as far as defense. And talk about Bagley, let's get into the second unit real quick. Now, Bagley in 16 minutes did have 14 points, 3 rebounds, shooting 4 for 5 from the field, 6 for 9 free throws. So we definitely needed him to better than missing all 5, but we definitely want him to make those 3 free throws, man. Definitely get better free throws, definitely in clutch moments. But on the bench, outside of 8 points from Kispert, that was about it. Shannon, 2 points, only 10 minutes played. And Bilal, 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. But I'm not ready to hit any kind of panic button. He's very raw. And I think that with him not being like, we knew going into the season, he's going to be very raw offensively. Now, defensively, he's a dog. But offensively, he's very, very raw. And you guys, people got to remember that he's got a lot to work on offensively, but he's not working at 0. He's definitely, you see somebody who's definitely trying to work on offense. So you're going to see a lot of showings. You're going to see a lack of consistency because he's a very young guy. He's a rookie. He's still trying to acclimate to the speed of the NBA. So I'm not ready to panic. Yeah, I think that as time goes on in the rebuilding his time in DC, he's definitely going to become a more polished player offensively. So, I mean, overall, yeah, it's just a total team loss. I mean, there's a lot going on with the organization. Trade deadlines coming up. Wes Unseld Jr. just got fired. I mean, you got to hope, Brian Keefe is interim coach. There's a lot going on. So I'm not going to say that's the reason they lost to the Jazz, but there's a lot going on in this organization. So let's get to the deadline because there's a lot going on in their heads, man. So
yeah, Wes didn't get fired. He got transitioned. No, I'm just joking.
Look, man, call it what you want, man. But he is no longer the coach. So, I mean, demotion, promotion, right. I don't know.
They only gave him that because his last name.
Yeah. So we're not going to get into that, man. But you know what it is what it is, man. I mean, he got it. When you got it, you got it. So we're going to transition into Wes Unseld Jr. and that news because we get to hear E about it, man. So we're definitely going to get E's perspective on the big news of the day. Coach Wes Unseld Jr. being fired, promoted, whatever you want to call it. So before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. So our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for daily draft or scouting the waiver like myself, every week we're going to provide you with players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked for us on this week. eBay Motors guarantee fit fantasy picks of the week. So there are 5 good players. But I'm going to choose one that I think you should definitely emphasize. So you got Gigi Jackson of Memphis, Mason Plumlee, Aaron Nesmith, Jabari Walker, and Marvin Bagley III. So with Daniel Gafford coming back, so I'm rolling with Bagley. So with Daniel Gafford coming back from concussion protocol, Bagley has a shot in nice minutes, second unit, and maybe start depending on the matchup. But if you're looking for a boost for rebounds, definitely for rebounds and some points, especially interior points for your center position, I would definitely take a look at Marvin Bagley because my team right now, one of them, they are hurting with points from centers, man. So if you had at the center position, if you're looking for a boost in points and rebounds, I would definitely take a look at Marvin Bagley. And you can kind of say the same to Jabari Walker real quick. Because if you're looking for a bit of a flyer, Walker started next to Jeremy Grant Wednesday and has a shot at a big late season value as well. So there's a couple names to look at if you're looking for points and rebounds from the forward and center position. But Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle, right? Because with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure that your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it for your baby. And with eBay Guarantee Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're just burning rubber, not cash. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guarantee Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions apply. And Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts at Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national show sports 24/7 streaming channel. So let's get into it. We're going to get your perspective, E. Coach Wes Unseld Jr. was, I'm not going to say fired, but he was relieved of his coaching duties and is making the transition to the front office. So I'm going to read a few quotes coming from the front office and because obviously the transition. So this comes from Will Dawkins and he says about the firing or the transition. We know our energy wasn't always there. We know our competitiveness was not always there. Defensively, there were nights that were unacceptable. We think that a fresh voice right here, right now, is what we need. And then we're going to look at Michael Winger said, we came to the realization that the fellas need to hear a new voice. And that was irrespective of the timing of the coaching change. So, E, hearing those comments, knowing the transition to the front office, I mean, what do you getting out of these comments?
Yeah, the comments, I mean, typically, like, when you say stuff like that, that's something that that's not something that you say when you keep somebody within your organization or within the front office saying that they needed a new voice, that they weren't competitive enough, or that the defense was unacceptable. So when you say things like that, I don't see why you keep somebody within the organization basically within the organization or within the front office. But, they're being nice, they're being respectful to Wes Unseld Jr. Sr. I mean, I'm sorry, so they're being respectful to Wes Unseld Sr. and also to Wes Unseld Jr., keeping him in the front office. I'm not sure the role yet. I think they did put it out. I'm not sure what role he has in the front office, but those comments were pretty, yeah, there were real comments about how they felt about Wes, and it was time to move on. Now they never should have gave him the extension. They never should have did that.
Yeah.
And we talked about how Wes Unseld Jr. was a lame duck coach. When you have a new front office, a new GM, let the GM pick their coach. Let them come in and pick their coach. Don't have them stay with the previous coach that was there before. And that's usually a recipe for a situation like this. Wes isn't the guy they wanted. And they hired Brian Keith. They hired David Vanderpool in the offseason because they were ready for this. They were ready for this to happen.
Yep.
So when they move on from Wes, they get to try Brian Keith and just see how he does. If he does a good job, for the rest of the season, maybe they promote him to the head coach. But they did say there is. Woj did say there's going to be an extensive search in the offseason. So I'm excited to see who they look at. You brought up Budenholzer earlier today. I mean, that's a guy that they can certainly take a look at. There's a lot of good coaches that are out there for sure. So they definitely need to do their due diligence. And they have a good opportunity to make the right decision, to make a good decision of bringing a good head coach. But yeah, this is something that needed to happen. Like I said, this should have happened in the offseason. You look at Wes's tenure, man, he was brought in here to be a defensive-minded head coach. He was nowhere near that with the Wizards. I think he was better suited as an assistant coach. You think about his voice and just his emotions, his demeanor, and just the way, he kind of carries himself and talks to players. You watch him on the sideline and everything. And, I hate to say that he's not a leader of men, but I just never got that from him. And, you look at his rookie year as a head coach, his rookie head coach year, when they had Montrezl Harrell, couldn't really contain emotions in the locker room. It was like kind of like the players running the locker room, the prisoners running the asylum. KCP, you brought up earlier today, KCP and Harrell getting in a fight, Denny and Bertans, and nobody getting along with Dinwiddie. I don't like Dinwiddie either. Dinwiddie's terrible, but I get it. But still, and then the 35-point Clippers loss. I mean, there's so many historical games that West has been on the wrong side of. The 35-point lead that we gave up to the Clippers, giving up 100 points in the paint to the Nuggets, losing by 42 points at home to the Nets. That was the worst. That was the largest home defeat in franchise history. That was the game where Gafford got dropped by Kevin Durant. 2 games in a row against the Nets and the Blazers, we gave up 20-plus point leads. Just having Bradley Beal dribble the ball off his foot every time in the clutch, having Kuzma shoot the shots that he takes in the clutch. So just not a lot of I feel like there just wasn't a lot of accountability help from Wes Unseld Jr. Yeah. And you could just see late game situations, and just you look at the numbers, man, and just the defensive numbers and all the 15-plus point leads that we've given up. Kuz said it in the comments many times before. And I mean, I think he's a darn good assistant coach. And I think if he doesn't stay in the front office, then I do think it would be better suited for him to go back to the Nuggets and be their assistant coach there. But yeah, I mean, you look at his record, 77-130. Yeah. Began the season 7-36, just the rotations, game adjustments. At halftime, teams always came out and made adjustments and dominated us. Even when we had Porzingis, like he was getting Porzingis the ball in the first half. The second half was like, why can't we get the ball to Porzingis? Porzingis is cooking. He's got 20, 30 points. So even back then when we had more talent with a solid 3, we couldn't even make the play-in. And when we couldn't make the play-in with at least the solid 3, I think he should have been fired then. This year, this roster, we already knew we weren't going to win a lot of games. But we already made our minds up on Wes going forward. And then the whole Bilal thing, just Bilal not really progressing this year under Wes. I don't think they really like that. I think that was kind of one of the last straws there too. So I think they were ready to move on. They said they had talked about this kind of days before this happened. Yeah. And they were just being nice, and they promoted him to a front office position. But this is something that definitely needed to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen now. I really didn't. I thought they were going to wait until the off season and just let it happen then. But yeah, I guess they had seen enough, and they said the competitiveness wasn't there, the defense wasn't there. Yeah. The guys needed a different voice. That's huge too, saying that they needed to hear from a different voice. That's what we talked about. We've been talking about this. We talked about this last year about the whole voice thing. So even Dawkins and Winger are saying it. So I'm just saying, like, I don't see the point of keeping him if you feel this way about him and all that in the press conference. But yeah, Wes is a smart guy. I'll say that he's a smart guy. Yeah. He pays a lot of attention to detail. So like I said, he's not a bad assistant coach, but as a head coach, some guys just aren't cut out to be it. And I just don't think he was ever really cut out to be a head coach. So I do wish him the best in the front office, and we'll see how it goes for him in the rest of his basketball career.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on all points. Great points, man. Yeah, obviously, his link to his father, his late father, with what he's done for the organization, being an MVP, being a member of the only championship team, had a lot to do with him being retained with the organization. So I get it. I just don't know about past this year. Let's be real. I mean, and this is my opinion. You know, Loyalty, yeah, to a certain degree, but look, this is a performance-based industry, and look, the writing's been on the wall for a while. It has. I mean, let's be real. I mean, even if we're just focused on this year, I mean, what did it was losing to the Spurs and the Pistons, and then your defense. There's no passion, no heart. Your players aren't responding. He lost the locker room. He lost it last year. He lost it the year before. Yeah, guys fighting in his rookie year as a head coach. Guys fighting in a tunnel, not even not even completely off the court. I mean, and then this year, you got Jordan Poole and his antics and his bad body language, not paying attention. I mean, here's the thing: you got to stem that, man. You got to put your foot down as a coach, and that's why we bring up names like Pat Riley and Mike Budenholzer and Thibodeau, man, because these are coaches that they hold a standard. You ain't getting away with those shenanigans with Thibodeau, man. And you're just not. We need somebody in DC who's going to hold people accountable, who are going to say, hey, you need to listen when I'm talking. Hey, you need to run my plays, antics. Because if you're going to sitting there trying to be Hollywood, you're going to be sent on the bench. There needs to be accountability. I mean, the writing's been on the wall, man. I will say this, really good guy, really easy to like, really down-to-earth guy, but this is a performance-based industry, and he did not do enough, man. You've got to run the locker room. Look, the GM is in charge of personnel, the owner in charge of business, and the CFO. As coach, you are in charge of motivating these guys to play. You're probably one of the most direct influences on the product on the floor. And they were not producing for him. The defense has been abysmal. And you can work with that with a rebuilding team, but the biggest thing that got him canned was two things. Number one, this is new front office. No loyalty. I mean, look, they have a plan in place, and if you're not part of that plan going forward, you're not going to be part of it. And they definitely evaluate, man. That's why they came out with a report saying, look, everybody is a tradable asset outside of Blau. They are evaluating. They're trying to build this thing, man. So, I mean, like I said, I wish him well, whether it's within the organization. Maybe he has a long-term fit. They got John Thompson III, who's in the front office. So they have people who are synonymous with either the Washington Wizards or really Georgetown Hoyas. So I have no problem with that. But as coach, we did the whole assistant coach thing, trying to do head coach, kind of like the whole combo guard, trying to be a starting point guard. Go out there and get a solidified coach. Go out there and get a guy. We mentioned Budenholzer, and some people say that might not be likely. But look, people forget that Budenholzer had a big impact on rebuilding the Atlanta Hawks. So who knows, man? And plus, look, as we know in the DMV, money talks, man. I'm saying, the Commanders, I feel like every team in the DV gonna have a new coach in a couple of years, man. Commanders, now the Wizards, man, we'll see with the Nats. But so the writing was on the wall. So it is what it is. I wish him well. Definitely God bless, man. It just didn't work out. But hey, on to the next. Let's keep it moving. Look to the future. So looking forward, we're gonna get into comments like we always do. But before we do, my guy E is gonna talk to us about Grammarly tonight.
Yes, sir. Today's episode is brought to you by Grammarly. When it comes to writing, Grammarly is there to support you from start to finish. For over 10 years, Grammarly has been powered by AI technology you can trust to help you across all the places where you write the most. And now Grammarly helps you do even more. With one click, you can easily brainstorm, rewrite, and reply with suggestions based on your context and goals, so you can improve productivity for you and your teams. When you're stuck with writing at work, Grammarly can help you get started with ideas, outlines, and even tips. Big presentation coming up. Let Grammarly create a personalized outline to get you organized so you can transform your ideas into a compelling presentation. Need to draft an important email and don't know where to start? Grammarly has suggestions to jumpstart your writing. The best part is that it's free to use. Start being more productive at work. Go to Grammarly.com/podcast to download for free today. That's Grammarly.com/podcast. All right, so we're going to get into some comments here. Somebody brought up Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell was the guy that I wanted them to
same here.
hire originally. I thought he would have, fit better with Brad at the time, but they got Wes. And I was happy at the time when they brought Wes in because, his resume with the Nuggets.
Yeah.
you know, they're winners. So, you know, they came from a winning organization. The defense was good with the Nuggets. You know, so I thought we were going to get a really, really good head coach in Wes, but yeah, it clearly didn't work out from year one. So yeah, it was time, man. It was time. It was time to move on from Wes, and you know, they were nice and gave him a front office position. But this is funny right here. Dylan Count says, "Is it too late for the Wizards to turn their season around?" Somebody named Brandon Scott says yes.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed, man.
Right.
I think we are where we are right now, you know. Oh
Man.
man.
Right. Yeah. So Evermore. So this is something too. He said this is clearly a personal effort issue. It doesn't matter if you get a drill sergeant to yell at them to play defense, they won't try, or they're physically outmatched in some positions. That is true too. Just the roster isn't good. Gafford, he tries, but you know, he gets, you know, out muscled and pushed around sometimes out. Well, not sometimes out there, but you know, frequently. And Bagley is trying. You know, there's only so much he can do.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Poole got pushed around by Colin Sexton. So just overall as a team, I mean, from not just the bigs, but the guards too tonight. So yeah, the Jazz, they just dominated from start to finish. I mean, not from start to finish, but they dominated that second half, really. Olenek, Collins, Markkanen, Kessler, all their bigs did whatever they felt like doing tonight. But yeah, I mean, whether it's Keith or Wes, yeah, I mean, nobody got the defensive belt tonight. We got the defensive belt on the screen tonight, too. Shout out to Wes Unseld Jr. for the defensive belt. We're certainly going to miss that just a little bit. I don't know if Keith is going to continue the defensive belt that Wes Unseld Jr. did. But, yeah, I mean, and then the 10-3 start, man, it's crazy. Like, I remember when that happened, everybody was like, oh, my gosh, Wes is the best coach in the year, in the world. He's such an upgrade over Scott Brooks, even though sadly, his defense statistically is worse than Scott Brooks. We talked about how bad Scott Brooks' defense was. But Wes Unseld Jr.'s defense was just as bad or worse, which is terrible. But yeah, I remember Wes that first year, the 10-3 start, man. Everybody got promotions, extensions. I think Tommy Shepard got rewarded. He got an extension. I mean, everybody was going. Montrezl Harrell was an MVP candidate. And you know, everything came back down to earth.
Oh yeah, we better off having Coach Klein up in Oh man. I mean, you know, like I said, it's just really nice guy, man. It's just it didn't work out, man. And we know that now. So we can look to the future. You know, nothing against Wes, man. I really hope he figures out his next career path, next chapter. Definitely wish him well, man. But looking at the comment, yeah, absolutely. I mean, defensively, who can we really depend on to defend? I mean, Denny, Bilal, DeLon. I mean, outside of that, there's no defense, man. I mean, Gafford just he struggles, man. He does struggle, and he's best served in the second unit. And at what point do you get to where you start playing Bagley? I mean, let's be real. Gafford just gets overmatched, man. I mean, Kessler did whatever he wanted to do, and you know, people bring up, well, he's a tier center, yeah, bottom tier. I mean, and there's nothing against Gaff. He's just not a starter, man. He's just not a starter. He has limitations offensively. I mean, defensively, he's on point, but he's better of a help defender. He's better served next to a 4 who can defend. He's a better help defender. So he's got his limitations, man. And it is definitely a personnel thing. I mean, here's the thing about Wes Unseld. Did he really inherit a mess? Yeah, man. I mean, he came into DC with a roster where you got Bradley Beal as your number one option. And we know how that went last year. I mean, let's be real. He was not a number one option. You know, he had a mix. I mean, KP I felt like he played well in DC, but he didn't have the best entourage. I mean, there's too much salary between KP and Brad. I mean, they didn't have any maneuver room, and they couldn't improve the roster. And then now this seems is abysmal, but it's a rebuilding team. So he didn't get dealt the best deck from the go. But here's the thing, though. The lack of adjustments, man, when you are giving up that many 20-plus leads, man, that's a warning sign. And what cost him his job is, I mean, you lose to the Pistons. The Pistons just broke a record for being trash. I mean, you lost to the Pistons and the Spurs in a matter of a week, man. And then when you see guys putting no effort out there, he lost the locker room. I mean, yeah, I was kind of caught by surprise, but then I wasn't, because it's just they saw enough. They saw enough, man. So I wish him well, but it was definitely time, man. So
definitely time for sure. More Gafford talk. Deshaun says, I think it's time to have a conversation about Gafford, guys. I counted 9 offensive
Yep.
rebounds allowed tonight by him alone. That's inexcusable. He barely boxes out or puts a hand up to contest. I think he puts a hand up to contest. Of course, he had 4 blocks. I know it's not everything.
Yeah.
We always talk about the rebounding. Like Mark Williams had 20 points, 20 boards. I can go down the long list of big men who have had big night. Jalen Duran almost had 20 and 20 a couple times that he played us this year. Just to name a few. Embiid had 50, 60 against us as well. So he does it against almost everybody. But still, the other big who plays against Gafford, they have a career night. It's just what we've seen so far this year for the past couple of seasons, except for the first year that he came here when he was traded. But other than that, the other big man, he's either gets a double-double or they score a bunch of points. It's either one. So, I mean, that's just what we've seen from him. And I don't think he's going to be here much longer. A lot of teams want his services, and I think he is useful. We talk about him as a backup. I think he's a really, really good backup. I think he would be one of the best backup centers in the league. So if he goes to the Rockets behind Sengun, I think that would be a great fit for him to come off the bench behind Sengun. Who else is looking for him? The Knicks, him behind Hartenstein, or when Mitchell Robinson comes back next year, him behind Mitchell Robinson. I think that would be a great fit. So him as a backup, man, would be really, really good. So right here, he has to start. We have no choice, and he's overmatched some nights.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a couple of episodes ago about overvaluing our guys or undervaluing our guys. And the thing is, what capacity are these guys looking for when trading for Gap? A backup role. I mean, it is what it is. He's a backup, and there's nothing against that, man. Look, you're an NBA player. Everybody has a role. Not everybody's a superstar. Not everybody's a star. Not everybody's look, a lot of people have made millions being a role guy. Look, how many rings are Robert already got? I'm just saying that is not. And look, you are. If you're a role guy, you're a role guy. So there's nothing against that, man. Here's a comment. 757 finally said the ESPN broadcast has me worried too. Hearing them say no good coach wants to come here scares me. Here's the thing about ESPN, man. They value or they love big market teams. They like the trash DC teams. They were hard, especially Stephen A. Smith, man. He was hard on John Wall for years, man. So I wouldn't pay them no mind, man. I mean, here's the thing. It's kind of like if you want to compare, and this is my opinion, obviously, but comparing the Wizards job is kind of the Commander's job, right? We have capabilities, man. We have a new front office. They're going to build this thing up. We're going to have cap money because we have after the deadline, what contract realistically, even if we move on from Kyle Kuzma, your biggest contract is Jordan Poole. And so that's the thing. We're not strapped like we used to be. So I don't buy that this is not a destination, man. If Monty Williams is going to go to Detroit, come on, man. Somebody's going to want to come to DC and coach this team. I mean, you want to go to Detroit. I'm just saying, and I get it that Detroit has a lot more, I guess, young players that are more attractive, I guess. But nah, we're going to get somebody here. This front office if you look at the moves being made by the front office, they're putting the league on notice also. They're not playing around. They're going to make the necessary moves to get this team right. Because they know, just like we know, we ain't won a daggone championship since the 70s, man. I'm just telling you. And when you're making a potential move to Nova, which is probably one of the highest priced places in the country, you got to put a winning product on the floor. And it behooves them to do that a lot sooner than later, man. So the pressure's on. They know they got to rebuild this team and get a winning product on the floor. Easy.
Definitely. And Israel T says, new coach, same issues, turnovers, losing the rebound battle, and Jordan Puddle and Kuz taking too many L5 threes.
Okay, I ain't mad at that.
Jordan Poole, he did hit one pull-up three today. The one pull-up three that he did the other day, or last night in the game, where a lot of people were upset about him taking that three. Yeah. I do remember he had one steal tonight and then missed the layup. He had a couple okay moments offensively, but overall, this season has not gone the way that we thought it would for Jordan Poole for sure, and then Kuz, the shot selection for sure. It was one of his better nights though for sure. But a new coach, same thing. That's what you're going to get from these guys until they really shake the roster up and we see who we can get back in some trades.
I'll say this, man. With Jordan Poole,
he did call a timeout. Keith did call a timeout very quickly though. Called a timeout very, very quick in the game.
That's a big improvement already, man. But getting back to Jordan Poole, I will say this. After the deadline, depending on who gets moved, if they put the ball in his hands and give him a responsibility, and if the coaching staff sticks on him as far as discipline, man, I can't see him averaging more than 20 plus in the second half, man. With more responsibility and more opportunity to have the ball in his hands. He's going to get that after the deadline. So we will see, man, because obviously this front office said, look, he's not a long-term piece here. He's somebody that we plan on moving at some point. So, do ourselves a favor, man, see if we can get his value up and maybe move him in the offseason. And doing that, give him a lot more responsibility in the second half. So, but yeah, Jordan Puddle. That's let's see.
Right, yeah. ESPN, I wouldn't listen to them too much. I listened to Stephen A. He didn't even sound like he watched one game of the Wizards this season, which I don't blame him. But honestly, he just didn't sound. He talked about Kuzma's hair. He said people in the locker room don't like Jordan Poole. I don't know how true that is. We have seen guys arguing with him and whatnot. But yeah, that's one thing that stood out to me. He said that teammates in the locker room don't like Jordan Poole.
Who is he to say anything about anybody's hair, man?
Right.
His hairline's up here, bro. Like, what are we talking about, man? Like, really? You can't talk to nobody about no hair, man. Come on now, Stephen A. Lord have mercy. Bulls Nation said, we need Brandon and Ed as the new coaches of this team. Ed would cough as much as Wes chew gum, and Brandon would fuss the players out and put them in their place. Hey, man, you best believe me and E, man. We'll get this team straight. Come on now. Contract. Yeah. What's up? But
yeah, I mean, my cough is going away soon. It's going away a little bit.
Hey, remember that coach? What was it? Chaney? Who was that? No, that coach UNLV used to chew on the towels. You remember him?
Yeah, I remember him.
Larry Johnson played under him. You remember him?
Yeah,
man, it's chew towels. But
right. I remember
that. Let's see. We'll do a couple more.
It was Jerry Tarkanian.
There we go. Yeah, rest in peace, because I believe he passed away a couple years ago. So yeah, man, grew up watching him, man. It showed my age a little bit. This is from the unknown ism. Off the topic, Sheena, I don't want Dan Quinn coaching in Washington Commanders. No, please, Lord, no. I think it's Ben Johnson a bust, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Another time with the Commanders for sure.
Yeah.
Daryl Hader, yes, they did not fire. Wes out of respect for his father, and Matt said this is a historical day. Made my day. It is a holiday for a lot of Wizards fans out here. When last night, if you look at the Bucks, they were dancing before the game, and you can see that they were clearly happy that their coach got fired. And I feel like a lot of Wizards fans feel that way as well.
Oh Lord, they dancing before the
game.
Oh man. So let's see. Have you seen him yet? There we go.
Let me see here. We'll probably read one more here. And that is it for tonight. We'll read one more.
I got one for you. You got one?
No, go ahead.
Back to the unknown ism, back to having a fire sale. Everybody's got to go except for B. Koulibaly. They said, look, everybody's a tradable asset. There's a lot of buzz with Daniel Gafford, especially with Dallas Mavericks, man. A lot of buzz with them winning both him and Kuz. So I definitely think this front office is going to be very, very active. Now, with the reports that they're not giving replies back to trade offers, I think eventually they're just testing out the waters, man. But I think eventually they're going to start making moves. Because look, they aim high, and then it's kind of like going to the pawn shop. You aim high, and then you meet yourself in the middle, man. So I think the new front office they're going to do a good job at getting a lot of these veterans off the books and finally starting to rebuild and start evaluating our young guys.
But yeah, Anthony. I know Wes. He loved him some Anthony Gill. I know he would love to start Gill over some of the young guys. Gone. Right? Yeah, he loved him some Anthony Gill. But no, that's so cool that you got to interview Wes. You got to talk to Wes, man, and that was a good question you asked about playing the young guys or trying to showcase that thing right there. There was a lot of times where he was. You could tell he was, I don't know if somebody told him to showcase some of the older guys so they could be traded. I know that's a part of the business rather than playing some of the young guys and trying to develop guys. You could even see that his first year we had to showcase guys so they could get traded. So it was a lot of that going on with his time here too. So, but yeah, Wes in the front office, and yeah, it was time. It was time last year for them to move on from Wes.
Yeah, it was, man. And you know what? Nice guy, and I wish him well. You know, it wasn't like he was not a nice guy. You know, he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Just it wasn't meant to be, and we know that now. And we can look to the future. But I wish him well. I really do. I wish he finds success in his future endeavors. I really do, man. So definitely appreciate your service, man. But just it's time to move on. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna call it there. Definitely appreciate you guys. It's been a very, very active day, man. But definitely we got some people in the video, man. So definitely appreciate you guys taking the time to watch us and chop it up with us tonight. So Locked On Wizards or Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. On the Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On plus the national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. So, hail to the Wizards and peace, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good night.